New York, New York. I'll tell you what, there's no name of a place that conjures up more excitement in my mind than the name New York. I've been to New York so many times, I just fancy myself a New Yorker at heart. A lot of people find New York too busy, too crazy, but for me, it's that very energy that represents the spirit of New York. And that's what I tried to capture in my new painting entitled The Spirit of New York, is that passion, that energy that is New York City. I had a wonderful chance to visit New York recently with friends who went to the expense of chartering a wonderful motor yacht that we were able to take out up the East River to get views of the famous Brooklyn Bridge. You had this great sense of the panorama of New York City laid out in front of you. It was kind of overwhelming. We were there as the sun was beginning to set, and something about the light that was just raking over New York just fascinated me. We saw the twinkling lights begin to emerge as the city was coming to life for the evening. As I was filling out the details of the painting, I began to see all the watercraft as being symbolic of different aspects of New York City. Not just the harbor tug, which is, of course, the central character in the drama, but we also have distant cargo ships suggesting the commerce of New York City. This is a great trading city. We also have the old historic ferry, the East River Ferry, that was very valuable as a means of transport across the East River, especially in the days before the Brooklyn Bridge. In addition to the ferry boat, we have a vintage military ship that we see just off to the right, perhaps a World War II era ship. This is a reminder to me of the great strength and courage of the city. After all, this is a city that has faced a lot of challenges over the years, but it always seems to bounce back with great courage. It's not afraid to fight a battle and to come out ahead. We also see the pleasure crafts that are making their way up and down the river. We have pleasure yachts and a big cabin cruiser that is heading out on an adventure. Of course, we also have a little rowboat that we see making its way over to the edge of the pier. If you look very carefully, there is a miniature portrait of myself rowing the boat for my wonderful wife, Nanette. I couldn't resist putting a touch like that in there. There's a great sense of overarching splendor in the sky. You have a wonderful sense of drama. When you bring the light lower, you begin to see the effect of the setting sun. It is as though the sky is becoming more radiant. The warm tones really seem to predominate. Maybe it's as though evening is coming on, the waters are growing still, and we see the drama of the last light. Then as we begin to bring the light back up, you can see hopefulness returning to the sky. The glow of a new day is dawning. It's as though the sun is rising before your eyes. These effects are what I call luminist painting technique. These are techniques developed by artists over the centuries to actually capture light on canvas. These techniques are all but lost today. There are very few artists who work with multiple glazes and creating that soft, what used to be called sfumato in the Italian painters, the softness of blending of tone to create luminous colors that seem to radiate from within. You can look carefully and see the details of the skyline with all the little windows lit up. I probably painted thousands of windows. As I was working on this painting, I was daydreaming about my last visit to New York City. I remember it was a very foggy afternoon, and as you looked out over the skyline, the buildings would be shrouded in fog, and yet glowing in the distance would be all the lights of the windows from the buildings. And those would glow out like jewels in the distance, or like diamonds set upon a jeweler's mat. You see all that sparkling effect of light that makes the city of New York seem itself like a radiant jewel. I enjoyed painting the bridge itself. Its powerful span is overwhelming as you cruise beneath it on board a boat. it reaches heavenward, and you have to get all the detail of those lines to really make it work. So it's a very delicate painting job, even though it's a very powerful architectural form. So the towers themselves are heavy with stone, and yet you have the delicate trailings of the cables that actually suspend the bridge itself. In the distance, you see my favorite touch in the painting, a very miniature rendition of the Statue of Liberty. Lady Liberty is the symbol of all Americans in our quest to preserve our freedom. I think people take pride in that indefinable part of New York, the sense that it is a place with a special spirit. Now, I can't put my finger on exactly what the spirit of New York is, some combination of vitality and courage and energy for life, a sense of diversity and ability to grab life in all its fullness. In a painting of this nature, which is panoramic, you can attempt to capture an indefinable quality. That's what I really wanted to do with the spirit of New York. It is more than just a portrait of a city. It is the capturing of the essence of that city. I hope my painting, The Spirit of New York, will capture a bit of the energy of this great metropolis and preserve it for people to enjoy everywhere.